To start, we're going to talk about controlling the flow. Controlling the flow in the program refers to using some statements to do loops or to repeat some code and say how the code is going to behave. But anyway, usually all this is based on comparisons. So the first thing that you need to understand is which ones are the comparison operators. You can compare many objects, like for example, you can compare numbers with statements like equal, for example, 6. You can print this, and the result of this comparison is false. Usually, a comparison returns a value that it's a boolean, which can take two values, true or false. So for example, right now it returned false, but if I put here 4 and I compare both numbers, I can see that now the result is true. This is a different kind of variable, right? That it's a boolean that can have true or false values. Comparisons are not only between numbers. You can also compare strings. For example, this string, I can compare it with this string. If I compare these two strings, again, the result is true because both strings are correct. So we have so far seen the equal comparison operator, which is this one. We have also greater than, greater equal. Actually, this one is lower than or lower equal, and for example, this. Let's try this with numbers. For example, 45, 35 is greater equals than 67. Let's print this. The result is false because 35 it's lower than 67. And what about if we just switch the sign and press again, run again our code? In this case, the result is true because 35 it's not greater than, it's smaller than 67, right? And this is greater than and equal, but you can just use greater or smaller than. In this case, still true. But for example, if I hit 35, it's smaller or equals than 35, I can see that this still now is true, right? So these are the comparison operators, the most basic. The other one, maybe it's different. You can use this one, like different. And in this case, are these two different? If I click, it's false because they are equal. If I put 36 and I try again, in that case it's true. Okay, so these are the basic comparison operators that we are going to be using. Comparison operators. Also, you can do other things to compare, for example, strings. Usually you want to compare if an object is inside a list or something. So in case of those operations, there are other operators. Like for example, in this case, I can ask if this string is in this object list. I can print this, and also the result in this case is false. If I search this string, I can see that this string is not contained here. But what about if I change this string and I turn it into something that it is in my list? In this case, the result is true because this worked as a the statement is valid, right? All these statements, you can use another operator that it's the word not, and simply not, it's going to negate the answer. So in this case, the answer was true, this object is inside, but if you negate this and you run this code, the statement turns automatically in false. So not in are an in is going to help you look if an object exists inside a list, and not it's going to help you negate that statement. Also, you could do that with for example, strings. For example, I could ask another comparison I could do is, for example, if in this string I can find the word main. In this case, it is a string. Let's print this. And the result is true, because I can find main, this word, inside my string. So it's pretty much similar to what happened with the lists, but you can do it also with just strings. Anyway, okay, the first statement to control the flow of a program, it's going to be the if statement. So for example, we could do if, and inside the if we can put whatever comparison we want between two objects, and this comparison is going to return a true or false. So for example, I can do this: if main in this, in that case, if this happens and it's true, then I'm gonna put the code that I want to execute inside the if. So for example, I could here print main is inside string, and then I run again my code, and it printed the code. Main is inside the string. The reason why it printed it's because of course this statement was true, and then I put the code here to print. It's very important in Python that this spacing that we are doing, usually I will use the tab, but this defines a hierarchy in the program. So for example, if I put here another statement, now print another thing, my name, and then I can put another print hello world, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna run this, and it prints 3 statements, right? All these 3 statements were printed because they are inside this code. If I negate this, so this is not, only is going to print it if the main is not inside the string. Now it's not printing any of them. And this happens because everything that is with the tab before, it's going to be considered inside the if. If I remove the tab on this one, automatically this one is not inside the if. If I run this code, it did print hello world. I'm missing an R. And the reason why it printed the hello world is because the hello world statement is not considered to be inside the if anymore. Usually, of course, once you create a tab, all that code belongs to the statement that's above it, but you cannot do something like, okay, let me think. I cannot say, okay, this one doesn't belong and the rest too belongs. Once you go back to the root, then this is raising an error already. That's why this is red, right? Because, or everything is inside the if, or if you go back to the root, this cannot be inside the if anymore, okay? So once you go back to the root, everything is inside the root. So this is the first statement, if. You can always also create an else statement. The else statement works with the if statement. So, for example, if you create the if statement and then you put an else, if the if statement is not satisfied, so for example, always is going to print one of those two. So let's remove the note because this makes things confusing. If main is inside our main or inside the other string, it's going to print this. But if it's not, it's going to print the second statement. So that's how the if and the else work together. The if is, you can put there the comparison, and the else is going to execute when the comparison is not is false or it's not needed. They both work together, and there it should always be an else with an if. You cannot put the else by himself. You can put the if by itself, but not the else. And in this case, for example, I print this, and it printed main is inside the string. But if I put a not here, or just if I change the string and main is not inside the string, now it printed my name because this is not needed, right? So it didn't do this. If this is not met, this condition is not met, so it didn't do this. It went to the else, straight to the else, and did something. You can add other things inside the if, like for example, you can do an elif inside the if, and you could put other comparison here. If 4 equals okay, or if what else? Let's do arm is a string inside or in, sorry, and we can put the same string. Actually, this could be a variable. Variable equals this. Let's do it with a variable, so it's easy to change everything. And in this case, for example, if I can find main, it's gonna be print this. If not, it's gonna print arm inside the string. Notice that the if and the elif and the else, it's they are exclusive, which means that if one of them is executed, the other ones are completely discarded at the moment. So in this case, if I do this, what will I get printed? I will get printed arm is inside the string. So it checks first the first condition, if main is equals variable. Since it's not, main is not inside this string, it's gonna jump to the elif. It's gonna do this comparison. This comparison is true. Arm is inside the variable, and it's gonna print this. That's why it printed arm is inside the string. But after that, it doesn't go to check the else or anything. It just goes out and prints the hello world, right? So only one of these is going to be execute if you put these ifs or elif or else here. Else is like the default. Like if none of the conditions that you put, then always else is going to be executed, right? So that way you can make sure that something executes when you run these comparisons. I hope you understand here how it works. I think that's it for this video. If you have questions, let me know.